time, fools.
Hey there, fools. Big T here, and I'm back with another video. This video is about me thinking about, my experience with video gaming and just, me as a Nintendo gamer and whatnot. And I just kind of came to the conclusion, based on these thoughts, that pretty much if you're a non-Nintendo gamer, if you have some sort of Nintendo bias or you just don't play Nintendo games, you can't really combat me on gaming or, kind of talk down to me about gaming, because you miss out on a whole lot. And I'm not just talking about, video games from Nintendo. Now, there's some people that always say things like, I don't play Nintendo games, which is weird because Nintendo makes many different types of games, and you saying you don't play Nintendo games means you don't play many different types of games. But, some guys feel like they can live without games made by Nintendo. I don't understand why people seem to seek out Nintendo specifically when they say, well, I don't care for those games or whatever, or I don't need or I don't like Nintendo games. I always thought that was strange. But outside of the design philosophy that from Nintendo, the way they develop games and stuff like that, outside of that, what you're missing, their approach to gaming, how they create, and their ideas and gameplay and the content they put in their games and the quality and all that stuff that make me a fan of Nintendo. Outside of you missing that, yeah, other studios do that as well, but there's just that Nintendo difference that they be based on their experience and the way they approach gaming. It's just something different that you don't get pretty much anywhere else. But outside of their games, let's say you don't play on Nintendo, you don't play Nintendo games. Outside of that, I feel like you're just missing out on gaming in general. You're missing out on a big chunk of it because of Nintendo's hardware as well. Now, some people will say, well, the consoles pretty much past GameCube have been weak. But that's exactly what I'm talking about. If your philosophy, if all you care about is visual fidelity and all that stuff, all you're getting every generation is prettier games. You're not getting new experiences, and not just software experiences, but I'm talking about hardware experiences, because Nintendo likes to pull you out of your comfort zone, which I think is a great thing. There's too many gamers, too many people in general just don't like change. And when it comes to Nintendo is all about change when it comes to gaming. So, some people feel like, oh, they, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That is the lamest, especially when it comes to technology. Like, what if technologists thought that way? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like, we would have nothing at this point. Like, we would have, we wouldn't be nearly as advanced as we are. And if you just look at something and say, well, that's good enough, then that's just, what are you doing it for, So I like Nintendo's approach, and it's not safe. It's, sometimes it works really well, like the Wii and DS, and sometimes it doesn't, like the Wii U. But to me, even when it doesn't work, I like the fact that they're trying something different. Like even the Virtual Boy, like that, was, if they had let Gunpei Yokoi give him the time that he wanted to make that could have been a really cool device. But they kind of rushed it because of the N64 delay, and they wanted something for the holiday of '95 because N64 didn't come out in '95 like they wanted to, so they kind of rushed it. And if you see the concepts and what he was trying to do, what he wanted to do with the Virtual Boy, it would have been a pretty cool little device. Probably a bit more expensive, but it would have been really nice. But, obviously the N64, Nintendo came with the first analog controller, and Mario 64, I mean, obviously that game was way outside the box of thinking. There had been attempts at 3D games before it, but none of them had that, again, that Nintendo feel, that quality, them understanding how video games, their philosophy, how it works for them. So, just, again, looking at the hardware, GameCube was just an evolution of the N64, so there wasn't a whole lot there outside of them bringing the first really good wireless controller, which was the Wavebird. And so, like I said, they brought them the GameCube discs, finally. But that was, that's not an innovation. I'm just saying there wasn't a whole lot of innovation. It was mostly evolution when it came to the GameCube. And obviously the Wii was a revolution. There was no guarantee with that controller that was a safe bet. It was a dangerous bet, especially when everybody was pushing visuals. Everybody else was, anyway, Microsoft and Sony. And Nintendo was like, no, we still have some more juice to squish out of this, out of this GameCube. We're going to duct tape 2 GameCubes together for the power, and we're going to give you this weird controller that just felt great. It was just a great design. It, reinvigorated my interest in gaming, and a lot of other people, some people will downplay it and say how terrible, it was, but I just feel like those people are miserable gamers. They're just missing out on the cool, kind of quirky aspects of gaming. Because these guys, I listen to them, I watch them, all they seem to care about is, faster and better visual quality, and that's all they push for. So they don't get the quirkiness, they don't get the fun, cool ideas. Their companies end up having to follow Nintendo, or try to copy them a little too late when Nintendo does their creative, things with their hardware and whatnot. So, and then they end up having to dislike, stuff on the console that they prefer, that they may actually enjoy, some kind of new experience. But at this point, it's all about visuals. There was a time where that made sense, where you had the arcades, where the power in the arcades was vastly superior, vastly different to the home console. So a lot of gamers wanted that arcade experience at home, and that didn't come to fruition until probably the Dreamcast is when everything started to catch up, and that's when arcades basically died. But after that, the arcade or the visual race should have ended. But for me, so far as I'm concerned, the overemphasis on that is because of the lack of ideas when it comes to actual games. Like, if you just focus on making crazy visuals and whatnot, you don't have to think about really cool physics in your game. You don't have to think about really good AI. You don't have to think about vast living, breathing worlds and stuff like that. It's all about, pleasing the person with their first impression of your game, which is the visuals. And people will think they're playing something so grandiose just because it looks really good, or quote unquote looks really good, just because it looks closer to photorealistic. And I don't know, that's just not. I just remember back in the day thinking about not visuals or just visuals, but thinking about how much cooler AI could be. The kind of stuff that I saw in the trailer for Cyberpunk 2077. Now, I don't know if that game will actually end up being that way, because we had something similar with a game like Watch Dogs, where it looked like, oh my god, that's the next gen, and the final game didn't come close to that. And I'm not talking about visuals, I'm talking about like the scenarios and the way people interact with you in the game, that kind of stuff. That's the kind of stuff that moves me as a gamer, gets me thinking. And the way you control, like, if you can come up with a new way of controls that makes sense and that's cool and just reinvigorates me as a gamer, I'm all about that, and Nintendo seems to continue to want to do that. Now, with the Switch, it hasn't lived up to its potential. It's starting to feel somewhat like the Wii, although I feel like the Wii doesn't get as much credit for the potential it did reach. But man, that first conference of talking about the Nintendo's, what was it, 2017 in January, when they talked about, how the Switch was, all these other consoles combined. They put all kinds of stuff from the other consoles into it, and they showed, Koizumi with the demonstration and all that stuff he was doing with the pouring water, and then all that stuff really excited me more than how powerful it was or stuff like that. That's the kind of thing that really got me excited about the Switch. And at this point, there's some games out there, but not enough of them have reached the potential of the control setup for the Switch. I don't know. I feel like it's catering too much to the, it has to adhere to, handheld gaming. I feel like it's doing that. Now, Nintendo has obviously done some cool things with Breath of the Wild and with Mario Odyssey, but that's pretty much it from them. And some of the other companies have added gyros and stuff like that, but I want people to really start thinking about cool things to do with those Joy-Cons, and I feel like some may be afraid because it may alienate, again, the people who want to play just handheld. But sometimes you got to do that. Like, you can't only adhere to having to be able to play comfortably both ways. Some games should be made to play in the dock, and not just to placate for everybody. So some people got a little whiny about the motion control stuff in Mario Odyssey, because you couldn't really do that stuff without the Joy-Cons or handheld mode and stuff, whatnot. But I need that kind of stuff, and I feel like if you're a gamer who doesn't care for that, like that Nintendo, you're biased against Nintendo, or you don't care for Nintendo games, or you don't care about that stuff, I just feel like, man, you're just missing out on the creativity that this industry could bring. And to me, that's just too bad. And like Nintendo's control setup and the way they innovate, bring new ideas to gaming, and the fact that I care about what they do and the types of games they bring and the types of hardware, I feel like there's no. And again, I play on the other consoles as well, and most of the time it's prettier, faster, but not much else. Prettier, faster, it's fun. I'm not saying the games aren't fun, because they are. I buy them, but I'm saying that it factor they seem to lack for the most part, and a lot of people just don't care about that, and that's fine. But what I'm saying is, no one who basically doesn't add Nintendo to their repertoire has anything on me as a gamer. So yeah, that's just how I feel. So yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you agree? I feel like the Nintendo gamer is one of the most experienced, open-minded gamers, out there. And I feel like, we seem to have a different outlook on video games. Yeah, we want nice visuals and all that stuff, but I'm more excited about new experiences. And on the Sony side and on the Xbox side, their controllers have pretty much been the same throughout. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. When they tried to do something different, there was a little backlash. So with the PS3 controllers, so it was like, no, let's go back and do another DualShock. And for the most part, the controllers have been pretty samey. And I feel like you gotta shake people up, even if they don't realize they need it or they don't realize they want it. You gotta shake things up every once in a while. So that's why I like Nintendo. They shake things up. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Thank you as always for watching and listening, and I'll see you fools next time. Peace out.
Flight core ready. Flight core activated. Flight core offline.